Let's listen to Pavarotti.
Hello, welcome to The Revealing. I'm your host, Pavarotti, and I'm here to discuss the Idaho 4 case. As a disclaimer, this channel is for entertainment purposes, and these are my opinions, and I'm not here to slander anyone. I will provide information, and I will give you my opinion on the information I provide. Now, my opinion is, it's mine, and it's mine alone. So let's get started. There's a couple of things I wanted to share with you in this episode. The first thing that I want to share is, I wanted to say thank you to A.R. Hayes for his response and for answering the questions that I asked of him. I appreciate it. And frankly, that was one of the better videos that I've seen. I thought it was great, AR. Kudos to you, pal. Also, I had a question in my comments that comes up more often than not, and I'd like to just address that. And it was a question that was somebody had posed to me that they had heard people say in other people's comments that I was some type of paid agent here to spread misinformation so that law enforcement would not look at the frat boys for this crime. No, I am not. And to anybody that would think that, I have to point this out. And with all due respect, there would be no need for a misinformation agent to shift the focus from law enforcement looking at the frat boys. Because, and this may come as a shock to everyone, but law enforcement isn't looking at the frat boys. Law enforcement looked at frat boys and they stopped looking at frat boys really quick. So there wouldn't need to be any misinformation to steer law enforcement away from talk about the frat boys. I've watched so many videos on the Idaho 4 case before I actually threw my 2 cents in about the frat boys, and that's one of the main reasons I threw my 2 cents in, because I just didn't want to hear any more videos about the frat boys. If you've gone to college, for some reason people seem to think these frats are some type of secret organization. I assure you they're not. These frats, these are just college kids. Frats, they're typically, you have to even be a little bit more straight-laced than your average college student. You have to hold a pretty high GPA. And from my experience, frat boys are, other than the sport frats, frat boys are pretty, they're pencil necks. I've been in fights with frat boys. They're pencil necks. They're not, I've never seen any actual evidence of the frat boys. Is why I don't believe it's the frat boys. I firmly believe in what I'm telling you, and no, I'm not hired by anybody. So I just want to get that out of the way. The main part to this video, though, I wanted to share something with you. Now, I did a video a few days ago, and I'm going to put it in the description of this video, the link. Some of you may have already watched it. I'm sure you have, if you're watching this one. Some of you may have not, or if you haven't, or if you have watched it, you may want to go back and watch it again after you see this one. Sometimes when I do a video, I'm trying to get across a point, sometimes more than one point, and sometimes I'm just kind of throwing it out there to see if anybody picks up on it. In this one, I don't think anybody picked up on one of the main things I was throwing out there. So now I'm just going to have to share it with you. What I try to do, for the most part, is I try to pick fly shit out of black pepper on everything about this case that I can. One aspect is trying to determine what the defense is up to in this case. And what evidence are they looking to bring forward? Because it gives me insight on what the defense really believes. So in that video I did the other day, where I went through all of the search warrants for the KBAR knives, and I listed all of those, and I went through them and I picked them apart for you. I was looking for somebody to ask a question about them, but it never came. There should have really been two questions, folks. The first question should have been, how do they get blanket search warrants from major companies that gives them the information on everybody that has purchased a KBAR knife from those companies? You know, when you get a search warrant, you have to be looking for something specific, and you have to have probable cause if you're a law enforcement agent. It would be very, very difficult, I believe, for even a homicide detective to prove probable cause to a judge to get a blanket search warrant for purchases of every knife, from every KBAR knife that Amazon sold during a time period. That'd be a tough thing to do. And I even gave you a hint when I was talking about the Walmart warrant. I was like, man, I think that's an invasion of privacy. You know, giving law enforcement all of the videos of people who are purchasing that knife from a Walmart. That's you know, that seems like overreach to me. So think about that for just a second. How did they get those blanket search warrants? How is that even possible? I want you to hold that thought for a minute. The second thing that I was alluding to, now I showed you the main focus of the video in the video, but there was another thing that I was alluding to, and that is that they never found anything on Bryan Kohberger as it relates to him purchasing a KBAR knife or owning one. If they had, they would not have continued to file search warrants looking for search history and seeing if he had ever clicked on something about a KBAR knife. If they had evidence that he had purchased one at some point, that certainly would not be necessary or even warranted. So they never found anything. Kohberger, as far as they're concerned, has never even been in the same room with a KBAR knife. And the defense knows this. And what I put together for you the other day is I went through and listed all of the KBAR warrants from the dates they were filed to the dates they were obtained to the dates they were filed, received, and then finally the dates that they were sealed. I did that for a reason, because I knew the defense was doing that for a reason as well. Because when you show the timelines of all of the search warrants for the KBAR knife and how it continued until July of 2023, searching for some type of record, you see, putting all that together and presenting that in court is what you call exculpatory evidence. Yeah. Being able to show how much effort law enforcement went through to find him associated with purchasing a KBAR knife and not being able to do it That's absolutely exculpatory evidence. And a timeline for that would be very valuable to the defense come trial. Now I'm going to show you a clip from a hearing back in May where Ms. Massoff is requesting discovery. And listen close to the type of discovery that she is requesting. And then keep in mind everything that I just have said in this video.
Your Honor, to facilitate this argument on this point, I am going to hand you defense exhibits A and B that were submitted in our records for today. I want you to be able to look at them while I'm talking.
Thank you.
As of today, there have been at least 50 federal grand jury subpoenas that have been issued in this case. Exhibits A and Exhibits B are an example of copies of grand jury subpoenas that we have received out of those more than 50. And what I didn't provide to you that goes behind that what we got with those is the subpoenas include Attachment A, which explains what is being subpoenaed. And then what has been produced is the responses to those subpoenas. And in some of the subpoenas, we also have the certification by the person who has produced the records in response to the subpoena. Some of them are missing. We have asked the state to produce all of the subpoenas, and their response is that they are not in possession and control of those subpoenas, and they do not intend to use the subpoenas as an exhibit, and we have not justified why we need those subpoenas, and for those reasons, they are not going to produce them. I'd like to begin by saying that as it relates to any argument that the state is not in possession and control, rather than beat the dead horse on that issue, Idaho Supreme Court came down in 2023 and made it crystal clear that anybody that's acting on behalf of as an agent of the state puts those records in the hands of the state, and they need to produce them. State versus Pendleton, 2003. The other thing is that in terms of the state arguing that they are not going to use a subpoena as an exhibit, that is not in and of itself a defense to not produce a document to us. We have a million reasons why we need to look at documents. We understand that out of the 51 terabytes that have been produced, that not all of that is evidence that's going to be coming before the court or the jury, but it doesn't mean that they aren't material or exculpatory. The subpoenas, based on reviewing the records, are in the hands of basically three agents. There is an FBI forensic agent by the name of forensic accountant, Michael Douglas. There's a special agent, Travis Shirley, and there is another agent, Mary Tyndall. These are the three agents that are receiving the subpoenas, reaching out to the providers that they're serving and asking for the documents. For the court to understand why we need these documents, I want to tell you what we're doing with discovery and timelines. There are more than 100 search warrants in this case. There are more than 50 grand jury subpoenas in this case.
Did you catch it all? You see, what she was asking for was the original subpoenas from the grand jury, because all of those search warrants for those blanket lists of names for those KBAR knives would have never come from a local judge like Megan Marshall signing off on it. Megan Marshall may have signed off on the final warrant, but only through the power of the federal grand jury were those warrants issued. And what Massoff was looking for was the original subpoenas for those warrants. They want to see what law enforcement actually put in those warrants or in those subpoenas when they obtained those warrants. So they could build, I think you heard her say, a timeline. You see, that timeline that she's building is what I just explained. It's on the search history for KBAR knives associated to Bryan Kohberger, which there is none. And with that much effort that law enforcement went through to obtain such information, that's a lot of time and effort and a lot of looking to come up with nothing. So by them coming up with nothing, it's absolutely exculpatory to Bryan. So this is part one of what I'm calling the Innocence Project series, Bryan Kohberger. It's going to be a 3-part series. Part 2 and 3 are going to be interesting as well. And what I want to do in this series is help the people out there that just don't know if Bryan did it or not, get firm in their understanding that he didn't do it and he could not have done it. But please like and subscribe to the channel. Post your comments, your thoughts, your criticisms. Until next time.